Welcome back to ESL Pro League. Fnatic lose that first map big, 16-7. NaVi run all over them on the T side, and it was still those offensive woes from the Fnatic team that we mentioned in the original pregame.
Yes.
Now going into Mirage, we saw plenty of this T side woes yesterday against Virtus.pro on this map.
Yeah, this is where they got absolutely thumped. 16-5 as well. The T side was very poor indeed, and going up against NaVi, another one of their kind of very good maps overall. Train is good for them, but Mirage probably just is up there as well. Fnatic don't really have much to bring to the table on the T side, I'm afraid.
Triple ops, perhaps.
Triple ops could be interesting. That's the only way they actually got rounds on the T side yesterday, actually. But what the first team round they got was double op setup, which was kind of interesting
was super aggressive with
on a T side. That's really unorthodox, but it worked out for them.
Yep.
Look, I feel like Fnatic have more of a plan at the start of the round. You know, you see them going into, like they're going in pairs, not individuals. They look like they have a goal at the start of the round. It's just they haven't done this style of Counter-Strike, having to work together mid to late round after taking territory. Normally it's one guy doing the default, right? You expect a 5-man spread. You maybe have one duo. You know, you have one guy picking B, one guy picking Palace, one guy picking A ramp, 2 guys going mid. And then they capitalize on the picks that are made. They're not doing that at the moment. They're actually trying to be structured, and they look, to me anyway, like they have a plan. It's like, let's do this. Let's send these people here, and but it's just either they're not finding the picks and then they don't know how to react from that. So it's going to take time for them to get into the correct way to address Counter-Strike. I think a quick fix is, instead of doing, you know, duos and trying to do splits and fakes and that kind of stuff, or you know, have force cohesion, just do 4-man packs and have a lurker and just go to a site, take your time, walk on in, trade, and take the bomb site, and that's a good way for them to build that early.
A lot of teams do that on Mirage, especially. Like, if you think back to like North, they used to do that quite a lot as well. Especially when back to Dignitas when Cajun B first joined, he was like waiting towards the A side of the ramp, and his teammates working towards B. He shows a little bit of presence there, drops a smoke. He's just trying to hold rotations outside of the map. Then using a lot of firepower towards the other side, and hoping you get trades at that point. It's a very simple way to play CS, but Chad's absolutely right. Maybe things are over complicated right now. Maybe there's too much of a set plan. Let's go over those kind of simple game plans, and maybe it can actually have more success in terms of an overall team.
You can build off it 2 ways. Let's go the extreme in the other direction. Let's go, all right, guys, let's play super passive Na'Vi-esque style Counter-Strike. Let's sit right back, let's wait out utility, let's call out utility, and then let's have a 1, 2, 3 step plan to retake that territory. Decision, so then they're going to have to do some theory. They're going to have to say, how are we going to react if this happens, if this happens? So they can either go back to school, do it that way, or they need to be a little bit more aggressive in the style of playing and not trying to be in between right now, and that's where I feel they are. But the team play is so good that if they picked either the really passive style or the pack roll, I think they could make it work. They'd need both in the system, though. And while we're on that, we do have NaVi, right, who are a team who are super slow. But more recently, they have these explosion strats. And here's another one. I talked about one on Train the other day. Here's one for Mirage. So basically, Edward is going to feign the mid-presence. That mid-smoke is very important. He's going to go throw the connector molotov, stop any aggression. Flashes just to make it look like a normal mid-default. Meanwhile, the other 4 players of NaVi are all over towards that B site. They're going to throw maybe 3 or 4 flashes here and just attack the bomb site. This is the pack roll stuff I'm talking about. This is what Fnatic, they have super explosive players. Anyone on the Fnatic roster could do this with ease. You know, the reason that this is good for the new NaVi is players like Simple, Flamey, they're really good at running in and finding picks in chaotic situations, and that's what you expect Fnatic to be known for. So maybe they could take a page out of NaVi's strat book.
Yeah, I actually agree with that a lot. That actually would be perfect for Fnatic. So maybe up against NaVi, they can try and bring that to the table.
Yeah, it's an interesting story to set up between these two teams for this match, because it's you know, it's Fnatic who starts out loose and is trying to get to that more structured style, trying to incorporate that a little bit more. And then you have NaVi, who we're used to seeing be very much more structured. They're trying to get a little bit looser and let a little bit more freedom into their players.
Well, that's just because they've lost Zeus, right? That's a big part of it. That's his philosophy of how to play CS. If you go watch Gambit, that's how they're playing right now.
Just on this, people might hear us say, oh, you know, they've lost Zeus. Like, okay, sure, they've lost the in-game leader. The reason it's such a big deal is because you've lost the shot caller in the middle of the round. Anyone at the start of the round can say, hey, let's go and do this. It's when it gets chaotic, it's when a frag happens that he's the general, he steps up, he says, let's do this, and they do it now and they listen. Without that person, without, you know, someone making the correct calls, the confidence might not be behind Seized yet. He might not be reacting quick enough. The information might not be getting to him in the same way, because, like, you know, you watch Zeus, he seems much more aggressive. If you saw that communication video with Gambit, just the way that he'd communicate about attacking sites, it was very aggressive, right? I really enjoyed it, but super aggressive. So maybe that's not there right now for NaVi, and communication is a huge thing, especially mid-round if you're going to play slow Counter-Strike.
Well, I mean, I've talked about this a couple times, where being an in-game leader, it's almost like being able to build that map in your brain of what what's going on the map and being able, as an in-game leader, being able to organize everyone when all the action is going on is a skill that you have to learn as a player through Counter-Strike. And the fact that you have, this is why we see so many people struggle becoming in-game leaders if they're forced into that role, because they haven't trained that part of their brain for like, 3 years.
The thing is as well, like the whole myth that if you're an in-game leader, your performance is automatically going to drop off. I've never really agreed with that. I don't think there's any sort of, I don't entertain that idea whatsoever. Like I was an in-game leader for like 5 or 6 years, right? And if you're not cut out for that role, you simply shouldn't be doing it. You might have a very good tactical brain, but if it affects your performance so heavily that you feel like you can't be as good as a player as you once were, I do really feel like you're just not that naturally born to be a leader. You find it too overwhelming to actually do both roles at the same time. Also
important to know when it comes to that as well, as an in-game leader, if you're going to have a good individual performance, it requires that your teammates are listening to what you're calling. That's where it gets really stressful.
And I think, when
we actually, Chad, I have to,
go.
Yeah, apologies, my friends. We'll get back to this.
It was a good chat. It was a good chat.
We'll do something. I don't know.
Off to Cuba.
We're going to send it over to Uber and Pansy. Take us away on map 2 of NaVi and Fnatic.
It is quite a unique opportunity to have so many in-game leaders or ex-in-game leaders in some cases on the desk there to talk about that. Hopefully we can revisit that one here, but definitely something we want to be looking at and talking about here. It's just been a big topic so far, but I guess what's an even bigger topic right now is what's in front of us. It's NaVi looking incredibly good on Train.
And you're walking into what is arguably the most played maps recently in the last 3 months or so. Not necessarily the best map they have. We've seen, I guess, a couple of others maybe sitting above that. We've seen Train being a great one for them recently, but Mirage is certainly up there. NaVi, well and truly, very, very good at this. And, well, we've seen Fnatic's faults. We've seen them fall to one singular man in the last game, and now you've got 5 very capable ones against you as well.
I mean, and, where snacks may not be bulletproof, ideas are, right? And the approach the VP had on their map in terms of how they played around mid-control and how they prioritized it was very interesting, and it was actually an antithesis to what Fnatic were trying to do. So, Pistol here, Fnatic on the T side. Let's get this one rolling.
And this is almost, I guess, what we saw last time around, is this retake on A. We actually saw it in the game with VP as well. NaVi seeming to play something similar to this.
Really nicely for them.
Yeah, so 2 smokes. They last did them towards jungle and stairs. They might change it, but I think they'll stick to this one. And Fnatic seem to like this. The retake worked out for VP. We'll see if it works out for NaVi. Flamey having to give up ground here. Falls back in CT. He's the one with the kit and the smoke. And he's got support now. He's got his buddy Simple with him. And they're working their way back in now. Fnatic being corralled towards jungle and connected. Like Guardian's got to be careful though. 3 players now going through, but well played by Edward as well to stay in support. But there's a problem. There's Olaf and Flusher left, and they still need to defuse that bomb.
Yep, that's going to be an issue. Olaf Meister has got a pretty safe position right now, but the defuse is going. Flamey in through the smoke. Sometimes when there's smoke, there's Flamey, and the bomb does get defused. First round for NaVi coming up. I love it when you roll your eyes at me, Lauren.
It's becoming such a common factor. Every single game. No, nice composure from NaVi to play back into that then. Didn't lose too many players, even though that kind of wolf pack almost from Fnatic came out.
What do you think about that aggression from Fnatic?
You got to gain ground somewhere. You can't just leave yourself pinched in the middle of the site. I don't blame them. You try and get that control towards CT, don't get it. They already back away. They have Simple on the quick rotate.
That's 3 players.
All right, let's try and get towards jungle or maybe connect to something. And they gave it a go. But now they're down to the Pistolas. P250s. Deagle now gone from the hands of Olafmeister. You've got the double play on short coming out between Seized and Edward. And really no one facing towards middle that much. Guardian's the only one there. Now he's going to play in Edward now. Pulls the attention one way, and they punch from the other side. This is brutal so far. 5 alive, good stuff for NaVi. Stabilizing themselves, getting a nice bit of money behind them. This is a very good start and a very shaky one for Fnatic. No AWP, or at least no double AWP, should I say, even in the close thoughts of their mind. So this could be a bit of a problematic half for them. Their T-side is certainly under scrutiny, so this is where they need to prove us wrong.
And Virtus.pro did this very well also when they played. And when Snacks had the AWP, they could peek mid, but quite often it was working from connector and from short, respectively, and just playing that in tandem, and timing their peaks well, just as we saw from NaVi in that prior round. So bear that in mind.
Is JW just going to go through the smoke? He's baiting it out. He's baiting out the steps, but didn't actually go on it. Now, NaVi don't have that much information at the moment. They haven't pushed on A. They haven't pushed up mid. So they might not be fully aware here, and Seized isn't alone though. There's still Guardian, and Guardian is keeping a watchful eye towards those apartments. Seized now under pressure though. Fnatic going for that big contact hit. Simple's on the quick route over, but Guardian's now under pressure and he crumbles. JW catches him out, and now there's 3 players playing retake, and it won't be easy.
Simple now going to make his way through corridors. Player at Forest, player close on sight, one over towards that short archers there as well. So Simple doesn't have any easy shots to make at all. Except for that one, Olofmeister just tracks back into his crosshair, but it's traded out. And that's what Fnatic are able to do, because if it's so long to set up on this site, they've got all the angles covered, and Flamey isn't able to do too much about that one. Nicely done. Crims and JW still stand, and AWP is salvaged, and the first round comes around for the Swedes.
Impressive they managed to pull that one off, just going for that kind of, I wouldn't say necessarily a dry hit towards B, but they made their way through that. Instant response though from NaVi. Look at this buy. Double AWPs coming right back out.
Edward.
And this is, yeah, he's going to swip it over towards Guardian, and he is on just a 5-7. So yeah, Edward's taking a big hit here to allow this to happen, and JW's got his own AWP as well out. So this could get quite interesting. We've got Dennis playing over by 8. 4 players doing the take towards mid here, so NaVi got to keep your eyes peeled.
Okay, that's Flamey smoking short there, so gives away his presence, although it should essentially be expected. There's 3 smokes in mid in total at the moment. So Fnatic can advance, but the problem is they have no idea what they're advancing into here. NaVi just have not bothered with mid window so much in this round. No, there's always going to be a smoke there. And that's the way that this map's changing actually as well. Teams are sort of going away from that standard peak. Sometimes you roll the dice a little bit too much with that, like dust 2 double doors.
Okay, they've gone for that deep smoke towards connector. It gives them even further time to be able to check through connector and pressure towards short. The bigger issue now, C's going down, is they have less presence towards middle. So NaVi have to respect this and back away, but still Flamey finds one through towards connector. Simple's got his eyes trained towards ramp. You've got Guardian watching through from jungle, so they've got a bit of an AWP crossfire towards A. They're believing this hit's coming in, but the problem is Flush has also been let loose. Ladderham's got an issue, and that issue has a gun. Flusher finding Flamey through the small little pieces of that scaffolding, and now Edward looking for a reply. But that could have been shut down before it began, but Simple doesn't manage to land the shot too perfectly, and JW's still alive, finding Edward, and there, finally he makes the impact count.
2v3, bomb hitting B now, Flusher already on the site. So again, Fnatic have a chance to put something together, and Flusher likely just hits himself in this corner. So this is going to be really, really nasty for NaVi to deal with if they have to push into this one at all. Minimal connector presence for NaVi in this round. Actually could have maybe traded out for C's death on short if they had a player there, but they were playing around the smoked out mid-window, and it's as easy as that. Flusher there to receive Simple, and Guardian thinking better of even challenging this one out. Problem is, Dennis was lurking.
Good positioning from Dennis to hold his nerve that long, wait for the rest of his team to get into the position they need to get the bomb down, and he just plays to find Guardian in the end. So with that big investment, NaVi's money is now in ruins. Shattered down to about 2k at most. But on the other side, Fnatic reading, of course, that situation. Flusher around to that Mach 10, wants to just fly through the map and find them, catch that stack wherever it may be. And it so far looks like maybe A, maybe they go aggressive, make a play towards ramp, maybe just try and make something happen, catch out a solo player somewhere. But the only, I guess, vulnerability was Dennis, but he's already backing away, maybe getting a little nervous, wondering what's happening. And Flusher sees no one's broken the window at B as well, so it kind of indicates maybe no one's here. But it also can be a bait, right? That can also be a factor. Oh, just don't break the window, maybe they'll fall for it. And so far, Dennis is in the perfect spot to catch all of these NaVi players if they actually go around towards T-spawn, but he's actually going to back away. So I guess he has to get the bomb and come towards B. Yeah, Flush has cleared out B. They've seen no one's there and like, all right, let's get going.
One reason why this was made a little bit harder of a round to win for NaVi is that Flusher bought the Mach 10, so he's going to be fast on B. He's going to be challenging. If there were players there, he would have known that they would have had pistols or very little money, given the economic flow of the game. So Fnatic basically were able to get information about the B site really, really early in the round. And when there's a stack at A, NaVi just don't have the time to respond before there's a bomb plant. If this was like a Fnatic expecting like a force buy or something more on the side of NaVi, it's unlikely that you actually see Flusher go so aggressive on his own into B and get that information so early. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Not too much to probably come from this. Just don't want to feed Flusher more than anything. Crim's going to find seized. Guardian Edward praying someone walks into the trap, but looking unlikely. And oh, Dennis, if only you knew a couple of seconds more and he could have had something then. But again, Fnatic have enough here. And Flusher, are you going to be a
Edward's money's pretty average. Oh, he's just bought
ooh, Dennis. Now, I like this. Dennis has the good mid spawn. I want to see if he uses it. There's still a threat in the fact that NaVi, they're not going to buy whatever they can. They're being quite careful with their money to a degree. They're only buying to this amount. A couple of upgraded pistols, a little bit of armor. Or they've retained the pistols, should I say, or most of them did. And now they just supplemented it with armor. Now, Fnatic have the option of whatever they want to do. This is the first time we might see this big A hit. It looks like Crims is going for the smoke towards stairs, one towards jungle from Flusher. They might just face CT, leave it open, leave for a swing out on it, because, well, they know they're up against pistols, so don't have to necessarily expend everything towards it, but there's a problem in the form that there's still Simple here as well, sat in towards Sandwich. Flamey's quite up close. if they start to feel this out, that could change this plan. But so far, they're doing fine.
Flamey wanted to play close up to T-Ramp, but actually then reconsidered it a couple moments ago. So now he plays back and he's been spotted out here. So Fnatic know to play a little bit slower towards that part of the map. Seas gets an AK though. But it is NaVi being softened up and now getting a little bit of energy. Guardian at least able to find JW in towards Palace. There's an AK and there's a P250. Dennis is hoping to make mincemeat of that one, and he does. He clears out Guardian. The bomb, a little bit slow, because Fnatic encounter quite a lot of aggression and contact over on that T-Ramp, so they play that one a little bit slower. Gives time for Seas to get into position, but facing down 3 is going to be nasty.
There it is. Fnatic stabilized after what was a very rocky start. NaVi looked a little worrying. They had to go to those double orbs early, didn't work out. So you saw the kind of reset coming through almost here. So NaVi considering their options, no other orb coming out. It's just the one on Guardian. Nothing was simple this time. We saw Seized obviously opting it on Train, a little bit curious there. But back to the basics for these boys, and Fnatic, of course, of JW on his. But a quick bit of play towards mid. Smoke goes in towards the window. Doesn't mean they necessarily go for this. There's still so many options available. Full utility here to play with, so they can take their time, play up through mid, get that mid control that they were denied so readily in that last game against Virtus Pro, and then build towards one of the 2 sites. So NaVi, let's see if you're ready for this. Oof, that nade.
This is, again, this is really passive mid-positioning for NaVi. There's actually no one in connector, and Simple's playing passive in mid-window, so you don't get those little, you know, 2-player sort of rock'em sock'ems, I guess, that we saw from VP. It's a very different approach to mid, and well, we saw what VP managed to do to Fnatic, you know, with the way they played through mid, and NaVi are just giving a lot of this up and actually not taking much for it. It's just playing into Fnatic's hands now to give them this degree of control. Even Edward now backing away up on short, very passive.
I guess if you want with Fnatic, you give them enough rope, they can hang themselves. If you want to play that passive style, so you know that Fnatic like to get those picks as quickly as possible and build off it, that kind of looser style than maybe other teams like to play with. But so far, JW finding Guardian actually plays very well into the hands. Flamey's in a pinch. He's got players right, players left, and he's just hoping he catches one of the 2 out. But his time will start to run out soon and dwindle, and they are checking on this. Look at these nades, but they didn't quite go far enough, so he might get away with this. Unless Dennis, yeah, Dennis has better ideas. Look at this guy. Not going to let him get away with that. And now the issues start to mount as Fnatic just, I guess, just add pressure to the vice here. It's Edward's time to save. He can't do anything about this. Fnatic got mid control, they got the pick, they got everything they wanted that round.
So let's talk about that. I mean, we talk about, you know, maybe Fnatic are a team that you can give rope and sort of expect them to hang himself with that. I mean, what's required for that to happen? Because Fnatic actually, the more room that they have, the more control they have. It feels like they have more space to actually play that methodically. They play that early round a little bit aggressive in getting control and actually fighting and taking duels to get that real estate. And then it seems like very comfortably they're able to take pick after pick and move in. Would you almost rather see NaVi actually put up more of a front in the middle of the map?
And if you have Snacks, sure. If Snacks is having a game like that, go for it. If Guardian's feeling he's got his big boy boots on, no worries. He's on 45 right now, so he's not exactly shining. If you're gonna take on Fnatic, you better be ready to take on these aimers, right? It's as simple as that. These guys don't often make mistakes that you can punish readily, right? Especially on an individual basis, at least in my eyes. So I don't know. You have to sit somewhere. You can't just sit on the middle of the fence. You either play passive, play that kind of quieter game. You play the kind of like, okay, we know it's Fnatic. We'll give them enough rope. We'll see what they do with it, and we'll just stop them when we need to. Or you go full Snacks, right? And you just take the fight because you know you're going to win it. Edward fancies his odds. All right, let's see how this one goes for him. He's playing a little bit close to connector. He can still back away. They've shown a little bit, and they're going to back off from this. Smoke out towards connector. There's a couple of players already up here. This is the issue. Don't sit halfway through on these sort of ideas. Either commit or don't, because right now, Fnatic have found an opening, but there's been a reply. Flamey's found a frag back, which is big, but it's encouraged Dennis to go leaping forward. There's no one holding towards A.
Look how far forward he is. No A presence at all for NaVi. Their A presence was the 2 players playing in connector. They didn't use anyone sort of from the B side or in mid-window. So, yeah, their site's completely gone. I mean, NaVi have a UMP and a Deagle, so you can try, but really, what's the point in attempting this round?
Oh, this is interesting. Apparently, NaVi's new coach on the AMA did in Russian said that Seized is the secondary op specifically on Train as of now, and Simple the rest of the other map. So that's quite an interesting take on it. So clearly he's having a very active impact towards NaVi. So thank you to the person on Twitter who informed me of that. My Russian's a little rusty. Very limited words, but what's not limited is JW's frags this round. 3 to be precise to close that one down and shut the book on NaVi's face here. And the pause comes in. I can hope this is from NaVi just to try and get their mindset into, okay, how do we play this? Let's make a decision and stick to it.
It seems in whatever way or another, in all of these rounds, NaVi are getting a bit unlucky with their positioning as well. I think there was a degree of that. But again, you know, they left A essentially uncovered. No one was watching T-Ramp, no one was watching Palace because they wanted to commit those two players in towards Connector. Now, we talked about Edward in the way that he stepped into mid and said, oh, maybe he's a little bit neither here nor there. The timing also really hurt him because he wanted to plunge into that smoke, but just as he did, the Fnatic player up on Catwalk saw him. So, unfortunate timing, and you can attribute that to luck, but that's a part of the game here. Let's see now, again, maybe lighter A presence again in this round for NaVi. It's just Flamey that's really dedicated to watching it.
But I like this, maybe making the assumption that as soon as NaVi are on that double up, we go to a site hit. And it's a good theory, of course. It's something that Threat became very vocal about, that he believes that this is the best way to get around it. You know, limit their capabilities, force them to play retakes, which make them incredibly uncomfortable. So maybe why Fnatic are going for these sort of hits right now. Flamey, again, very isolated from the rest. Edward's trying to bail him out, but Fnatic have held off. They haven't pulled the trigger yet on the actual hit. They're waiting to see if anyone plays into it. And Flamey on the verge of doing so, but has to back away. Tries to find a new position, peeks towards Tetris. Good spot here, and Dennis doesn't punish. There it is. Finally, Olaf and JW come back in on it, but Guardian still found room to be relevant.
Flamey getting 2 kills there is big. It's actually more than you probably expect from that position, especially with 2 players facing him down. We'll see how that actually materializes, or if it does later into the round here, because Crim's forced JW was busy trying to deal with Connector and in towards jungle. He has to back away with this bomb now. And NaVi, like we discussed, give control, flex into this one and allow Fnatic to push and then go for that retake attempt. There's a lot of smoke on that site. Fnatic justifiably could have gotten there. It was all about Flamey shutting him down.
Nice read from Guardian, good timing, round the back, doesn't risk taking the one-to-one fight, waits for him to pass, takes the shot. So NaVi back into this, keep the 2 AWPs up as well, so that's good for their money to keep that retained. Edward's a little low, but he can get dropped out. He can get sorted from the others. But this, as you said, was the big moment. I'm surprised that Dennis didn't trade this quick. He was checking towards Sandwich. No one was there quickly enough, and you could see the big response coming out from Palace, which, again, quite a risky play to swing out that wide on it, but it worked out for a small moment. But it almost got too far away already. So nice impact there from Flamey, again, making big, big waves for NaVi in the rounds they've won. So maybe Fnatic going back to what maybe they feel works for them, this mid-take that's been working quite nicely, but there are a double-up play coming out, so it could, again, hinder this.
Guardian has this AWP over towards this A site, and this is simple here on short. So maybe a little bit more of a concerted effort to wrest some of this mid control away from Fnatic and just vary the pace of play on the side of NaVi. Again, both you would have seen 2 grenades. You know, there's 2 players there, but Olaf catches him. Crims goes down. He was actually in towards underpass there, trying to make something happen. So not too much gained nor lost here, and NaVi are quickly rotating in the direction of B. And Flusher seems to be joining his teammates here. In a moment, C's going to be hanging on the side. 1 goes down. The 1-for-1 is acceptable because NaVi have now a few moments to set up here through Kitchen. Not what you want if you're Edward there. Face that down. JW just plays the fringes of the smoke so perfectly. A quick about face, standing and delivering as well. And Flamey is no more.
Yeah, Fnatic somehow finding their footing here, even in the most curious of ways. This from JW, hello. That's a little spicy.
Yeah.
That's a kappa. 3-7. Now, money's getting nice and robust for the T side. You can see that they're starting to sit on 9k towards Flusher. Decent amount with JW. They know they're going up against probably a very light purchase from NaVi. There's a couple of deals spread around. A bit of armor by Edward, but beyond that, you're looking at bare minimum at this point. In fact, just going to be walking in towards A probably. Wonder if they're going to actually play out the smokes or anything, or just go for that dry hit. They are taking fights. They are facing into it. They want to see if they can find out what the plan is here. One of the big threats has been removed. Flusher finding Edward removes the man with armor and the deagle, and now you've only got 1 more upgraded piece on the NaVi side.
Seized is a fact. It could be a factor, at least flanking long around towards A, but it needs to be pretty quick. It's only pistols here, of course, for NaVi. Very little to work with. They're hoping to play in, 2 or 3 players into a fight and try and wrest it back. But with Fnatic, all boots are on the site. Very, very hard to make any real inroads here. C's probably bound to get a rifle here. Simple finding Dennis. There's a possibility here if C's can get the creep up. It'll be a 1v3. Are you for real? JW is, lazily turns his head in his direction, and he's not having any of that.
No, absolutely not. No fun allowed, boys. The fun police is here. And we have a very weak buy coming out from NaVi.
An extra 1,500 would have been so nice.
Yeah. Oh, good old... got Famas is there. No UMPs. NaVi not having any of that, apparently.
Yeah,
Guardian goes quick swing out here, but actually doesn't go into the molly or like through the molly, but he misses the shot. That's huge. That's opened up such a big chance for Olaf, and he somehow gets away. I don't know how he's still alive. I guess the flash was just long enough to allow him to escape from Olaf Meister's clutches. And look at the two players going in through underpass as well. Simple taking the fight here. Even with the new skin, it's not going to be working out too well, as he does at least get away with his life.
We're in a decent position here. Crim seems to be expecting his presence, but it's not enough. The Famas does find its mark. A weapon falling out of favour with a lot of players as of late. This has been discussed. I think Pimp is one of the few who actually will prefer that over the UMP 9 times out of 10. Fun fact aside, though, NaVi have taken a lot of damage in the early stages. Seized and Guardian are very low, and they still see this mid control. Now, JW went on his own towards B. Didn't know that there'd be 3 NaVi players there and waiting, and they're simple in mid, just to put down the law.
Maybe Fnatic losing a little bit of focus here, and NaVi kind of pulling up the bootstraps a little bit. As Flusher left in the 1v5. 3 players are low, and Flusher not going to get the play this time. Flamey being the backbone so far of this ace site, being a consistent nuisance to a couple of these hits that Fnatic have tried to pull. But the problem is it's still only 4 rounds on the CT side. Fnatic seemingly turning up a little bit on this T side that we have been questioning a little bit here. So they've so far delivered. I think we can put that to, I guess, a decent margin, but there's still a lot of room to be seen. Now NaVi can go back to the double ops. Last time we've seen that coming out, Fnatic went for the A hits. Quick flash out, and he's going to be taking a little bit of a fight towards middle. That's with Flame beside him. But Fnatic going for a bit of a pinch through underpass here. Olaf Meister up at the top. Got to be careful. Guardian doesn't normally miss those shots too many times in a row, and he doesn't this time.
Yeah, that was a pure peak Olaf Meister in towards mid. Doesn't work out. JW still has an AWP, and Crims has made his way in towards underpass here. So that's the kill on Edward. 4 players over towards the B side of the map here for Fnatic, and it's only Seized actually on the site right now. Edward was playing up on short there, so Seized lacking backup, but Fnatic don't look to pressure that advantage. Back away into spawn and maybe even rotate through towards A. Now, if you're a NaVi and you're worried that Fnatic somehow know that you're so light on the B site, you are going to rotate a player over at least. They're going to split this one 2 and 2. And Flamey and Guardian, I hope one of them wraps in through CT here and yeah, at least get some presence on that side of the A site. They do. So Fnatic with the advantage. Even in numbers, split NaVi between 2 sites, a 4v2.
Oh, this is tough for Guardian. This is a big test for him. You've got players from 2 directions coming in. He's pretty isolated. Flamey's actually just pulling himself a little bit further away from being able to help him out, but the adjustment is
spanked.
Unbelievable from Guardian. High flash comes in. Somehow doesn't land that shot. It looked like it was on, but he's read the game plan. He's going to spot another. No, he didn't see him jumping out from Palace.
So lucky.
That's a huge problem, but he sees another. Flush again towards Sandwich. There's still a nade coming in, and I wonder if it's towards CT. It is! It hits him. It's enough. It's done the work. And it's left JW now, the last man standing, but they've removed Guardian and allowed JW to focus in on the last 2, but he's being baited by Simple and played in towards Seized, but he's reading it well, but the time, it's dwindling.
Simple's got a molly here, and Seas can approach now. They can actually set this up for a nice crossfire. Inside of the box, permeated by many bullets, and Seized is not going to be able to hang on. Or should I say JW? Seized to find him there. So NaVi bring it back, and they play a little bit slower. Again, they allow Fnatic to have that control. They set 2 at each site. And to do that, to be confident that you can receive a 4-player push with 2 people at the site, you need to rely on people like Guardian who hit those shots, though. It does just seem like Guardian's a little bit uncalibrated. You know, he's hitting these first shots, but then a couple shots he needs to be hitting. A couple rounds ago, we took it all up in towards mid against Olaf Meister. Not quite connecting.
No. 5-8 now, NaVi. There's a step back here. This is the game I've wanted to see between these two. JW just takes the 1-to-1 and wins it. Guardian blinked, missed it, died, and now has to sit there and watch Simple on the AWP. Let's see if this works out any better for him. JW's holding down mid as the A-hit's starting to pour in. He's down to Flamey to lock it down, but he can't. He's been smoked, mollied out, flashed out, everything poured at him. And Fnatic take the site.
Well, there's a gap of that smoke there as well, and I think Dennis was hoping to make some use of it, but Flamey's full flash, and Dennis sneaks in under the cover of that grenade. And now the bomb is down, 3 players surround it, and JW in a good position to control the presence in mid. Easy shot for him. Seized never knew what hit him, nor did Guardian earlier on in the round, and this is what we're talking about. JW on his own. That was a solo peek towards mid, just JW, no backup, no flash, no nothing, clean as a whistle.
You kind of sit there like, who does that?
Well, that's what I was just going to say to you.
Who does
I was going
that?
to say, like, how many teams do you really expect that from?
At this level as well. It's like you're up against Guardian or Simple, one of the two. Do you just take the dry peek? Of
does
course you
not
do,
care.
JW. Of course you do. That's the confidence you want to see, though. There's been glimmers of that JW of yesteryear, and we're all hoping to see a bit more of it. But again, this 4-1 might be coming through for Fnatic. But Flamey can push up towards Palace here. This is going to be quite nice. I don't know if Crim spotted him. And Dennis is on ramp. Oh, he didn't spot him at all. Flamey gets away with murder, but Dennis replies. But that's giving away the plan here. They're going to see the bomb. They're going to see it all. But Edward denies the play through mid. Now they're all focused towards A.
Guardian key position for him, but JW catches him super early on into the play, and Edward had multiple angles to cover. None of them were going to help him, and it's going to be seized to rotate through from behind. Now, Dennis hears him. He's just heard him now. Needs to be a really quick peek, and that's hard to win out. Dennis steadfastly holds. And Simple misses a shot he really otherwise should have hit there. And that is going to be the half, Lauren. It's 10-5 in favour of Fnatic so far. Again, a Fnatic swinging like a pendulum. Bit of a difference between tonight and yesterday, but still, Mirage looking much better for the Swedes this time. Let's see how it all transpires in the next half. Well, Lauren, Fnatic back on the attack, recovering from a bit of a lackluster performance on Mirage last night to take NaVi to task. It's 10-5 at the half. A very solid T-side from the Swedes.
A very solid start for Fnatic, but there is certain life in NaVi yet. These guys showed us a great game just a moment ago on Train. And now it's their time to see what they can do on the T-side here. And Edward is the raid boss, Superman, whatever you want to call it. He is a beast with the Tech 9, and we might get to see that put to play. So, Flamey, I'm not sure what the game plan is for him over by A. He's very, very much isolated from the rest. Yeah, it could be a bit of a bait, but he can't be relevant to the round all that easily. So maybe just seeing if there's ramp aggression or anything coming through his way. There's nothing there, so we might just rejoin the gang as they do line up by B.
All it is at A right now for Fnatic is Dennis watching T-Ramp and Crim's anti-flash, so nothing really to be seen. But this is what we're looking at here. So flashing over the top, Olafmeister completely unperturbed by that one here. Again, just needs to sort of throw himself into the grinder here. Hope to get a couple peeks around this corner onto his right. But NaVi not convinced that this is actually the way they want to go.
No, and they're going to show the next part of the idea. Show Guardian and Flamey towards middle. The jiggle peek in the corner. They might take a step out soon. And then you hit B. Here comes in the other flash, and that's the one you go on. So it is a B hit. Flamey and Guardian going to work their way up. But the problem is that Olafmeister, as you highlighted, did not get blinded, and he has not been moved. And he's having none of what NaVi are trying to sell. And the flank comes in, and things just go from bad to worse, leaving Flamey and Guardian with it all to do. But Flamey's up to the task, apparently. Flash's head goes rolling, but it's just Guardian now in the 1v3. No armor either.
It's all well and good to show a couple players mid to try and confuse your opponent, but no one was watching from Fnatic in mid. They didn't even see the two players shown there, so all NaVi did was isolate their main force. Fnatic were ready for that B hold, and Olaf with 2 quick kills definitely set them on a good trajectory in this round. He had 2, Dennis had 2 as well, and Fnatic not really tested at all. And this first shot was probably the most important. The second one a little bit messy. You can see a little bit of left and right there, but he does find the head ultimately. Again, look, your margin of error is quite slim playing from that position as well. You can see that Olofmeister was trying to use just that right side of the, I guess, the rendered wall there just to try and stay away from that third player. But nicely done. 2 kills and a lot of stall. 11 of 5. UMP's been brought up en masse for Fnatic.
Flusher, Crims, Olofmeister, just going to be running those.
Running the jewels.
Very nice. Very nice. The Glocks on the other side, not going to be doing too much, I can imagine. And not going to get away with it, really. So you're not going to get much done. Maybe trying to get a plant is in the back of your minds, but Flamey's had a bit of a walkout towards A, but not going to connect anything. Fnatic keep 5 alive. 2 kills on the UMPs. They are still SMGs, believe it or not. So they do get a fair bit of money going for themselves off it.
Yeah, and we get to really see what the greater plan here is for NaVi and the use of Flamey. Obviously, they're playing that 4-in-1. Chad talked about it on the desk as well. We see this from a lot of teams. Play that Wolfpack and have that loose player that you can pivot around. And this time it's going to be simple, actually, is that lone player over on the A side here. Probably won't really show himself till later in the round. NaVi would love to transition actually through connector here and take control of mid, but yes, JW will be waiting. No AWP for him yet, but this is usually sufficient. Not this time, though, only the trade.
12-5 certainly be burrowing into the minds of NaVi here. Got to be able to pull themselves through this one. Mid is slipping in towards their control. No one on short, no one really watching it elsewhere. Fnatic playing a very strange game. Olofmeister is going walkabouts, but look at this. There's no real information at any point other than this. There's good info, but Flusher's completely pulled off of A. He's now sitting towards CT. Crims walking back towards window, and if that smoke dissipates at the right time, or he plays it at the right time, he gets it all to do.
Bomb loose here for Olofmeister and smoke on top. Just to compound the issue a little bit more here for NaVi. Doesn't want a challenge, he knows he's walking into AKs. But this is now a very frustrating play for Flamey, who was on the other side of that smoke.
Look at the bombers, that's the worst thing in this round. They have control in A, but it's all about that bomb fight, and why are we not watching it? Why are we not watching it?
Flamey pushed the smoke.
Got Olofmeister. No, why did we miss this?
Ballsy stuff. That's ballsy stuff.
Look, it might all be for nothing anyway, because Crims is going to watch this. So, yeah, it was like, okay, well, that was exciting, but it's fallen apart. And now at 25 seconds, and Dennis is on the side. He can just buy a bit of time here, get Flusher into a very relevant place.
Dennis jumping across. Back in towards CT now. So Guardian, I guess a moment to breathe, but maybe not even to plant. Flusher, yeah. Flusher going to be testing there as well. And that's a correct decision from Guardian. He needs to find the 1v1. That's a position for a T-side player that you know that you actually need to come forward and get aggressive. Doesn't quite work out. 13-5 here. A mirror image. Fnatic so good at these games. You know, they play so well in one and sometimes really quite average in the other. Another split series seems to be on the horizon for them, and the only Mirage so far is a NaVi victory on this map if they keep going at this rate.
Here we go. JW eyes towards mid time. Who is that madman at the top of mid? You ever been on the subreddit, Mad Lads? It's seized. That's it.
Mad Lads.
That's the one. He's taking wide peaks against JW, just, all right, I'm here. NaVi looking for the
swab.
NaVi looking for the plant. They might play in through underpass, try and get in through connector, try and avoid the eyes of JW and maybe feed C's to the machine. But here we go. Flashes, smoke start being put out, and well, so is C's. He's been put out to pasture. As now the rest of the players do start to make their pinch. Edward has success.
So far, so good for Fnatic here. Well, okay, Edward. We know what he can do with the Tech-9 here as well. He came leaping and bounding in, but Olofmeister was there to back up JW, who seemed to be a little bit frazzled by the movement patterns of his assailant. And Simple now just going to brief sojourning connector here. Doesn't quite have the same touch of the Tech-9 that we just saw from Edward, but still, 14-5. This is, yeah, the nasty territory now. And NaVi in a position where they can sort of buy into these AKs, but nothing more. Really haven't been able to work with an AWP on this T side at all, and that's got to sting.
Yeah, and no players having a huge performance. That's a weird thing as well for them. You look on the other side, Dennis having a pretty big game for himself there. Got JW and Olofmeister, these two starting to go at it. But NaVi haven't had anyone really kicking off. That's the big thing. You look at them, those before, it's like, oh, Simple's going to be... Hello.
Oh.
I guess it's the smoke. You get the different smoke on Spectator. So...
Again, with the X-ray, we...
Yeah, you get to see everything pretty much.
Right then. Well, C's going to back away. Lucky enough to be getting away with his life in general. But now JW's starting to make amends for the earlier bit of issues that he had. 2 kills for him over on this A side. Now needs to back away. Into connector, and the smoke will assist him in this regard. Seized, if he's caught lurking too long, he could be in deep trouble. JW a little bit too high. I mean, that's a hard shot to make, no doubt about it. So retake for Fnatic.
You start to expect things from JW because it's JW, even though it's just not something you normally see. So, 3 players left alive here. Molly goes in, going to force Simple out of the corner. Force him into the eyes of Flusher. That's the first, but Guardian's very actively looking for fights and sees getting played in well here. Does get the first shot down in the end. And JW's so low, it's going to be tough for him to do anything in this situation. Staying alive would have been, I guess, something, but that's not even going to be the case here. Guardian going to keep this one alive now for NaVi. 6 rounds on the board for them. Still not much to work with.
An AWP, though, for Guardian. So, you know, that's the take-home, at least from that round there.
Yep.
Keeping themselves afloat. It's unlikely that even if NaVi had won that round, they'd actually be able to afford the AWP. I don't actually think their economy was in a good spot prior to that one. A little bit of a mess. Dennis in mid. He, one of the 2 AWPers on the side of Fnatic. NaVi play it, so there's going to be a smoke on short. Enough at least for them to get across. Olaf doesn't really see anything. Even the Guardian's actually standing up on top of the boxes here. But Dennis isn't peeking because of the smoke in mid that was just laid. So now Fnatic have to cede mid control to NaVi. They're pretty insistent on taking it.
Yeah, NaVi are good at taking it too. You have to play around there. You do have to respect it. And with Fnatic knowing what they've got, it's not perfect, but they do have the double ult, and they've gone for this. And it's weird that JW doesn't have it either. Dennis gets picked up very swiftly. Flamey at the helm of that one, but we've got the Deagle arrow here. We've got a little bit of Crims maybe having a bit of a shot at something. Flusher trying to buy a bit of time. There it is. Deagle comes true, and now Flusher is there, adding insult to injury on even the less than ideal buys. Fnatic still have so much fire behind them.
Yeah, a team like Fnatic, you know, there's at least a couple rounds like that per game. They probably shouldn't win. They still end up winning. It's a very fortuitous time for that to occur now, but it's still a 3v2. 2 AKs and a UMP to work with here. And Crims is going to make his way up short. Now, Flusher is very, very low, and Guardian meets Crims there at the head.
You lose a 2v4, do you, Fnatic? Because that's going to be in the back of their minds. You shouldn't lose these, even on this weaponry. But it's looking likely. No kits, Flusher low. Unless somehow JW finds a miracle frag very quickly, this one is starting to dwindle out of time. They've got to be quick about this, but there it is. JW comes through and Flusher sprays in, desperate for a connection. He's got the tag.
Do it.
But
Do
no.
it big.
Guardian, the destroyer of hope.
Do it big, Guardian. That's what we love, a little bit of that. Let's see it from his perspective here as well. I'd love to know, yeah. Picks out the pistol and just very clean kill. To be fair, from Flusher, that seemed super aggressive. Obviously, just sort of firing at the bench, hoping to get some of that penetration damage with the UMP. All right, now we bring a couple rounds back here. This puts Fnatic in a very nasty little economical situation and a chance for NaVi actually to develop their own, which is more important, especially that we haven't seen the full power of their T side until they actually get that AWP in Guardian's hands.
Surely nothing going to come through this round. Should be a nice 14-8. Get NaVi back with a shot. And Simple might have the best or the worst timing in the world. And doesn't matter, apparently. Doesn't matter.
The way Crims walked out there was very interesting. I don't think he expected Simple to be there either, so neither of them were ready for it.
Yeah,
Flusher traded that, though.
Which is quite impressive. Now that's played in the chance to recover a gun, but no one's got armor on Fnatic. So if they can maybe hinder the bomb, but look at this positioning from JW. He's just hooned it over towards B. So game back on, but not for much. Unless these Deagles do something disgusting, this should be pretty much a shutdown here.
Flamey turns the lights out, and now it's JW. Desert Eagle. Nothing much really gotten. The only Desert Eagle kill, the only kill for Fnatic in that round was Flusher. The trade out on Simple as he dropped down from Palace. Speaking of which, Simple, a little bit of a quieter game for him. Actually, a quieter night in general. It was mentioned on the desk that, you know, now he's being forced or required to play a role. Can't really be, like it was said, that loose cannon rolling around the deck. And that's not necessarily a death sentence for players of Simple's caliber, but still he seems to be struggling to fit into that mold right now.
JW, you don't walk into that He's going to back away from the window, look for new ways elsewhere, but Flamey lighting up through connector, but JW is there, sprays him wildly, but gets met by his opposing number, I guess you can almost call it. Guardian with the AWP. We're down to a 3v3, but let's look where the bomb is. Still working its way through Palace, and there's still Dennis here. If he can maybe find a bit of play, find a bit of an awkward position to put himself in, he can still be so relevant to this round. The rest of his team, though, are believing in this B hit.
Given where Edward and Guardian are playing now through mid, Dennis will probably have a chance to challenge C's, because if you're in C's position in Palace, you've got to plant in a position that's quite possibly vulnerable to the CT ramp, the T ramp, should I say. So I mean, Dennis has done good work here. I like this. The idea that if you're at a local man advantage, i.e. like it's a 3v3 across the map, but it's maybe a 1v2 at that site, coming from a really weird angle will allow you to equalize that and at least give you a fighting chance.
Now, it's whether or not Dennis holds his nerve now. This is where it gets interesting. Two players up short, they're making noise, they're making it very obvious they're here. Dennis, let's switch over and see if he's going to keep it under wraps.
Blocked.
Here we go, yeah, lockdown, but seized. How has he landed that? He's got it back to a 1v2. He's got decent HP, but no utility to make play with. He doesn't know how quick they've been on this rotate. Spots out one by Jungle, looks for the straight-up fight. Flusher gives it away. This gets dangerous now. Olaf's got a nade. This could clear out the spot in one swift move. If he puts it here, it's done. Yeah, this could be it.
Himself away.
No, Seized has moved. He's moved forward as far as he can, but it doesn't matter. The rifle does the job, but that could have been different.
Yeah, tough one for C's there as well. He knows he can't retreat back to Palace, can't give control of the site back to Fnatic, because that is smoke. They're just going to smoke him in there and make life really hard for him. But this is Olafmeister pushing in there as well. So the nade would have killed C's if the shots didn't. Either way, you can always count on Olafmeister to get done what needs to be done, and this puts Fnatic one round away from closing this affair out. JW 23-11 in this map. So again, you know, there are so many things, you know, that we can count back 1 year, 2 year in CS that we're so fond of, right? We have fond memories of the teams that were, always kind of hoping for that to come back. But the sooner we realize the game's changed and the way people play the game's changed, maybe we can sort of, you know, curb our enthusiasm in that regard. But JW is looking shades of the old.
It's scary when this happens, isn't it? You start to get worried if you're an opposing team. But 15-8, at least NaVi this time have a good buy to work with. But already Flusher dismantles part of it. Flamey goes down, who's been integral so far, and Flusher won't move. He's standing out here. Look at this man. Giving it everything he has, and he just gets completely wrecked by Guardian. Okay, now the problems start to begin. It's back to the 3v3, but look at the HP.
Oh,
Crims just lines them up and knocks them down. And we're down to this 2v2, but Guardian's low, Seized is low. But Dennis is in an awkward spot here.
It's compromising position here.
Yeah, this is not easy.
Guardian's able to loop back and leave Seized in mid now. Sees the head of Dennis. Dennis has no idea. It should be an easy pickup now. Should be an easy pickup. That's the operative term anyway. Dennis now making the peaks. Grenade won't catch him, and Dennis gets away with that. Somehow, he's going to have the chance to get back over towards B and actually give Fnatic a 2v2.
How has this happened? Here we go. Guardian going to look for the fight straight towards Dennis. There's a
He's got
time
that
limit
unlocked,
on this.
surely.
There is a time limit. He can be relevant here because there's pressure from short at some point. That's what he's worried about. He couldn't stay there too long. Has to adjust now. He has no idea where they're coming back from, aside from Dennis. Now, you might start hearing Crims letting a couple of shots fly. Yeah, so Guardian now knows where they both are. Seized has to help him out in this as well. He's got to help him to the left. Guardian misses a very uncharacteristic shot. Now Dennis gets up close and personal, and it's down to the 1v1. Seized against Crims. And Seized, where are you? Crims?
Oh, he could have had that.
He could have had it.
Unbelievable.
Didn't hold his nerve, didn't hold down the bomb, but he's now dancing with danger, and Seized keeps it together, even in the highest pressure moments. NaVi have a lifeline of recovery now as they've broken Fnatic's money.
In fairness, that's very believable, right? Like, you never really think. Pros don't fake, boys. Seized had a lot of money into that round, about 7K, so he's just going to distribute that across his teammates as much as possibly can. I think that AWP for Guardian was of Seized's purchase here. So that still keeps him topped up pretty nicely. Fnatic, like you said, average economy. It'll be time for one of those Fnatic rounds again with those pistols. A la FaZe Clan would go down a treat right now.
Shouldn't, but might. You never know. Seized. Ah, he's Chris block there from Seized.
Thanks, Seized.
But no. Olafmeister tries to find a pinch, bit of room, but Seized, all too aware, not going to fall for it. Stays up and standing, barely losing any HP, which is nice. Not feeling too vulnerable. And the last three remaining players are the Deagle brothers. 3 of them. Dennis, Flusher, Crims. Anything they can pick up is a bonus, but it's very unlikely.
With the UMP. So not necessarily playing within optimal range, but this gun is really good right now in a lot of ways. Very versatile for the cost. Dennis trades him. Fnatic go, could get the UMP. Don't really have the time for that one. It really is insane, actually, what you can do with that weapon from that range.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's a conversation for another time. Fnatic still on the cusp of taking this game away, but they're forced to take a double eco, or at least I dare say, maybe they a little bit of utility. But nothing over the top I shouldn't expect here. Yeah, P250s, 5-7, Desert Eagle.
I think we see some aggression. Just do something with it, you know what I mean? Just try and push somewhere, stack something, make a little bit of peace happen. Because you got Flusher with a flash, so maybe they can create something together. Or maybe just play it out as per standard. Maybe a little bit of a play towards mid here. 3 players could face it, 2 in connector, 1 towards window. JW's gone for a bit of aggression towards Palace, and I like that. However, you're up against Simple, who seems all too aware this could be a possibility.
I mean, it's fine. Look, you've got P250. First shot, though, you have to hit it. If you don't, you're probably going to be in trouble.
Yep.
Totally winnable situation. You're just not supposed to. All right. 1 by 1. A lot of these rounds, really, we've actually seen both of these two teams in economic troughs on multiple occasions. So this is a game where you're actually going to see more of these eco rounds, these pistol forces in than maybe normal. It's going to be Crims on 16 HP, though. Does get 2 kills for his trouble. But NaVi, I mean, the question of dealing with their burgeoning economy isn't really an option right now. I mean, NaVi are looking quite good. They did have to dig a little bit deeper a couple rounds ago, but...
You can say for Fnatic, they've got a couple more rounds to play, but they are adamant they want to work with this double AWP. And it gets costly. You can't keep going back to this and keeping your money up unless you win the round, right? But we'll see. I don't know. It gets a little risky, but they want to make this stick. Now, JW's got his. olofmeister's on his. JW from, I guess, the more deep angle they wanted to go for that. No one's actually gone for it, though. Guardian gets fed a big pickup. olofmeister being found is massive. And now Fnatic looking for options elsewhere. NaVi have not really shown much across beyond that. And that's just Guardian slow walking out towards B. And there is still a player here. If you're playing against Fnatic, you know there's probably going to be Flusher around somewhere, and he is. He's waiting down just off the side here. If Guardian keeps walking any further, there will be that little bit of a pixel in towards the sights of Flusher.
1 of 2 of the Fnatic AWPs getting a bit of a dust coat right now after that one as well. So olofmeister losing out on that challenge. I mean, you already covered that pretty extensively, but it seems that NaVi aren't really convinced that they've actually made enough damage on B and softened Fnatic up to actually be going with it. So backing away now, and this is annoying if you're in the 4-player position. If you're Fnatic, you're like, well, okay, what now? Fnatic preemptively actually stacked already 2 players fairly deep on that A side, so they're entrenched. But again, what's to stop NaVi from going short to B? Just Crims.
Both of the AWPs now on B, because Flush was able to recover his. GW's going to be watching towards short. And Flush has actually swung around to it as well. The AWPs are ringing true. It's 3 players now for NaVi to run the gauntlet. They have to get past these 2. The first will fall, but JW is still there. Now, even odds sit between these 2 teams, but Fnatic on 15 rounds means in the next 20 seconds, excluding the bomb plant, of course, we'll see if they can actually close out in this round.
Issue is that Crims and Dennis don't really have the option to go for different angles here. I don't think there's time to drop in an underpass and go the long way, so they have to double face here. Guardian, again, this is about as close as to living in a fort as you can be. CS, but he gets tagged in the head. Now needs to go for the peak. He finds it. A little bit off, a little bit on and off Guardian has been now, but look at how low they both are. Crims doesn't have a grenade to exacerbate this and still needs to get it done the old-fashioned way. Oh, that cost him.
Yeah, it's save time now. Off we go. That one little bit of a shot coming through, and Guardian somehow staying alive again. Guardian playing from that spot is actually so good. People call it, I think, Forest every now and then, or Bench. But
I call it Forest. Well, that was, I think it was called Forest far before CSGO.
Yeah, but Guardian just making it his own at the moment. He's really found form there for some strange reason, but you almost felt like that was Fnatic's chance to seal it then. You had both the AWPs there just working out perfectly, but no. Pulled right back into line, and NaVi's money's sitting nice now. They can get whatever they want, that full buy. Fnatic's right back down to the dust because they're going on these double AWPs, constantly backward and forward here. Even in close rounds, they're going to be poor as you like. Crims going on the M4 though, so he's kept that one through. So he'll be okay going forward, but the rest going to have to suffer through this, and that's part of it.
A Desert Eagle in mid-window, that's JW. You can hear that ringing out. Sometimes a clarion call for death, sometimes nothing to worry about for NaVi. I'll have to see which case this is because they've already made the way over towards B. And they're on the site, so they're in. It's going to have to be Fnatic play that retake. Flusher actually Managed to find a kill up at the top of mid, if I'm not mistaken. C's lurking a little bit too long. Retake with Deagles. This might be a thing. JW finds Edward up close and personal, gets himself an AK.
Oh, God. He just wants to get out.
Yeah.
Crim's almost blocked him then.
A bit of a stack up inside kitchen, but they're making it happen now. 2 players remain for NaVi. The bomb is down, and Fnatic still need to respond to this. And Simple's going to deliver 2 kills. A spray comes through. Can't quite get a third. An Olaf and Flusher shut it on down. NaVi straight in the duddy. Fnatic split yet another series. And again, the top 8 spots in this league are still under question. Neither of these teams really pulling free of them. But what an exciting series. A great start, especially. Train was fantastic. Looks like Akara had when I was a kid. Cost me $500. Best investment ever, but for Fnatic, you can't be too upset about that, Lauren.
No, they will be pleased as you like to close that one out. And of course, there is always that little bit of an element of it still being Fnatic. You might slightly forget it for a couple of rounds when it gets close, but they win on the pistols, they win on those crazy things. If you're NaVi, you're frustrated, but it was a good game.
And that's all she wrote for that Clash of Titans. Now over to the desk for Moses and the boys to give us the scoop.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, if you're NaVi, you are very frustrated considering you were making that push towards overtime and it's pistols that stop you. And how Fnatic is that? They struggle in most of the gun rounds leading up to that point. And then the CZs, the Deagle, the 5-7.
It felt like overtime was destined to happen at that point. But yeah, of course, it's the CZs and the Deagles and one push for a smoke, of course, that actually enables them to pick up the win and get an AWP and everything.
How fitting.
Yeah.
This was, I mean, again, though, we talked about Mirage, pretty good map for NaVi on the T side, but on the CT side, they still seem to have some struggles, maybe losing some confidence on that side.
Yeah, I think on the T side yesterday when they went up against VP, every time they went for a duel, whether they took map territory and then went for a fight, they lost it, or when they went for early map control and VP challenged them, they lost the fights as well. Today, Simple was trying to, fight them from connector or from short, and he was losing the fight, so Fnatic were getting free picks there. When they took their time and were able to work out that NaVi were playing in the sites, they was always finding that opening pick. So I think that was the big difference in their T sides. It seemed like they addressed the game very similarly to yesterday.
Yeah.
They were taking mid control, they had a couple of people in B apps, getting underpass control, boosting to pick windows. Just today they were finding the frags. That was the only real difference I saw. Yeah, a little bit shaky on the CT side, but a win's a win, right?
Absolutely. Much better than yesterday. Actually, starting on the T side this time, and actually they lost the pistol, in fact. They went down 2-0, but managed to put it back in the third round after getting the bomb down in the pistol, I believe. And then they had a massive string of rounds. I think it was like 6 in a row to manage to get them like a huge lead at that point. They finished off the half 10-5, and that's got to be a much better result than what they had against VP, right? I kind of, just to point out as well, Chad's kind of idea of sending like the 4 players towards B, one on the other side, they actually pulled that in a couple of times on the map as well, and actually worked with quite
So did
good
Fnatic.
success.
Yeah,
So did Fnatic, they did as well.
We had a little bit of a chat during that game that you can't draw too many like massive conclusions from the online Counter-Strike, the online leagues, but what exactly is there anything you can make of the fact that Fnatic yesterday destroys VP on Train, gets destroyed on Mirage? Today they go against NaVi, they get destroyed on Train, and then they win on Mirage.
It's a difficult one.
Is this a Fnatic thing, or is this just like their style of play lends it to these kind of results?
There are inconsistencies of online CS for sure. It's difficult to really give you a clear statement in return to that. But they did look better overall, I think. Obviously, the Train was a bit ropey, but coming back and winning the Mirage, got battered on yesterday. That's promising at least. They've obviously rectified some of the holes that were kind of leaking before, so that's better. But yeah, like we said, there's always going to be inconsistencies, and different matchups lead to different results as well, depending on play styles and how these teams match up against each other.
It seems like the general feeling about Fnatic from analysts and from casters is that this is a team that's going to be good, and we're seeing improvement. They're just not quite there yet.
I think the weird thing at the moment is I think there are so many teams that are going to be good that we're going to have a top 8 to 10 teams that are all fantastic. They're all super competitive, all playing the same brand of Counter-Strike, just with super stacked lineups. That's what, if you look at the scene at the moment, all of the teams who we think are either going to be a top team or are currently a top team have so much firepower. The liabilities seem to have died out of the scene right now. Everybody's been weeded out, and we have the top 3 is clear. But I think there's 5 to 7 teams below that who are just could win any given Sunday type of thing. So that's what's really exciting, and the inconsistencies are going to prop up, especially with online Counter-Strike. You're going to see these things from time to time.
Yeah.
It's good, that they're bouncing back. That's the best part. They're not just getting blown out. The mentality's there. They're like, hey, we still want to win. If you lose a 16-2, normally you go into the next map and you're crushed. But VP yesterday proved that they could come back. Today, Fnatic proved that they could come back on the second map, and these are good signs.
NaVi as well, we're seeing good things from them, despite we had that segment with Mitch earlier where he talked about Starks, leaving the team, wanting to become a player again. where do we have NaVi at? Are they a team that we see, you know, an improvement in a future for?
It's difficult to say right now. This is the first outing we've seen since StarX has left, right? This is actually the first game they've played since that's been happening. So I'm not really sure where it's going to go. I think they'll be fine. Obviously, like I said, there's another guy coming in to kind of replace or be more of an analyst, I guess, instead of a coach. I'm not really sure.
He was the analyst.
So
now
he's
he
the
is the
full-time
head coach. Yeah.
So okay, but still,
big shoes to fill.
I think that's a good thing for Caesar. Now he doesn't have to crush to fall back onto his StarX. Now he really has to take the bull by the horns at this point and say, okay, if I'm going to be the in-game leader, I'm the only one who's capable of doing it. And if this team's going to be successful, I have to really embrace this role now. I can't just fall back on the StarX at the events where he can call for me. I need to actually give this a good go. So hopefully that's going to be something good for him.
We've got about like 1 minute, so I just want to get quick thoughts from each of you because we haven't actually discussed this between us at all, and just for the viewers and everything.
Go on.
Thoughts on StarX stepping out from coach and saying he's open to playing again?
Well, we saw him play in Malmo, right? He actually had to step in for Guardian. He actually looked pretty decent still. I would like him to come back, I think. Like, obviously, I think that's the headline of CSGO right now. The in-game lead is like the hottest property.
All-time premium, yeah.
Yeah, so if he was going to come back, this would be the perfect time to do it. He still has got the skills. Like we saw in Malmo, I thought he was pretty decent, actually. He stepped in as like the secondary AWP to Guardian, and he looks all right. So I think if he's, from a business point of view, why he's going to go right now, I think that's a perfect idea, and I think he probably should do it.
I think the Russian factor / Ukrainian thing is the big issue. You have to build another team. The talent's there in the CIS region. He could grab some players from other teams to build a squad. It's
Vegas
just
Squadron.
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of good players, like that Miri guy, I think it is, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
There's talent there, and he could build around himself, right, and make a team that he wants to run with. Could be an exciting future for him, especially, you know, with the growth of Counter-Strike at the moment.
Yeah, cool. We'll have to see what that future holds for Stark. But tonight, NaVi and Fnatic are done. They split maps for the evening, 1-1 for both teams, though that's going to affect the standings a little bit. We'll check that out later tonight. But when we return, we will have Envy taking on North for the last match of the evening.